The psychology of women's nipples, myths, truths, and societal perspectives. The topic of women's nipples often carries layers of fascination, controversy, and societal conditioning. Despite being a natural part of the female anatomy, their representation and meaning are heavily influenced by psychological, cultural, and social dynamics. This article explores the psychological facts and cultural nuances surrounding women's nipples, addressing both biological truths and the societal constructs that shape perceptions. 1. The biological purpose of women's nipples. From a biological standpoint, nipples serve a functional and vital purpose. They are integral to breastfeeding, providing nourishment to infants and fostering an early bond between mother and child. The stimulation of nipples during breastfeeding also triggers the release of oxytocin, known as the love hormone, which strengthens emotional connections. However, beyond breastfeeding, nipples are a highly sensitive erogenous zone. They contain thousands of nerve endings, making them responsive to touch and temperature changes. This sensitivity plays a role in sexual arousal for many women, which has been extensively studied in psychological research on human sexuality. 2. Cultural perceptions and double standards. The way society views women's nipples is deeply rooted in cultural norms. In many Western cultures, the female nipple is simultaneously sexualized and stigmatized. Women's nipples are often considered taboo to display in public, even when breastfeeding, whereas male nipples are typically regarded as neutral and non-sexual. This double standard reveals a psychological phenomenon called sexual objectification, where women's bodies are disproportionately viewed through a sexual lens. Studies in social psychology indicate that this objectification can lead to self-consciousness, body image issues, and even shame among women. On the flip side, movements like #FreeTheNipple challenge these societal norms, advocating for gender equality and body positivity. Supporters argue that the stigma surrounding women's nipples perpetuates inequality and reinforces outdated views of female modesty. 3. Psychological reactions to women's nipples. The human brain processes nudity and sexual cues differently based on context, personal experiences, and cultural background. Research in cognitive psychology reveals that visual stimuli, such as seeing a woman's nipples, activate regions in the brain associated with arousal and reward. However, these reactions are not universal and can vary widely between individuals. For example, in some cultures, exposed nipples are normalized and seen in everyday life, leading to less sexualization, in societies with strict taboos, exposure to women's nipples can elicit shock or heightened interest due to their perceived forbidden nature. Psychological studies also show that social conditioning plays a role in these responses. From a young age, people are taught to associate certain body parts with shame or allure, shaping their reactions later in life. 4. The role of nipples in body image and self-perception. For many women, their nipples contribute to their sense of body image and femininity. Factors like size, shape, color, and appearance of the areola can significantly impact self-esteem. Women often compare their features to idealized images portrayed in media, leading to feelings of insecurity or dissatisfaction. The rise of cosmetic procedures like nipple reconstruction and areola tattooing highlights how deeply body image concerns extend to this part of the anatomy. Women who undergo such procedures often report improved confidence, which underscores the psychological connection between physical appearance and self-worth. 5. Why are women's nipples so sensitive? The sensitivity of women's nipples can be explained by both biology and psychology. The high concentration of nerve endings makes them responsive to touch, which can enhance sexual arousal. Studies in neuropsychology have found that nipple stimulation activates the same areas of the brain as genital stimulation, suggesting a unique connection in the female sensory system. From a psychological perspective, nipple sensitivity can also be heightened by emotional factors, such as intimacy and trust. This demonstrates how physical sensations are intertwined with emotional experiences. 6. The stigma of breastfeeding in public. One of the most controversial aspects of women's nipples is their exposure during breastfeeding. Despite being a natural and necessary act, many women face criticism or discomfort when breastfeeding in public. This stigma reveals the tension between the biological purpose of nipples and their sexualization in society. Psychologists argue that this stigma is a product of cultural conditioning rather than innate human behavior. In fact, in many indigenous cultures, breastfeeding is regarded as a normal and unremarkable activity, free from judgment or discomfort. 7. The influence of media and pornography. Media and pornography play a significant role in shaping perceptions of women's nipples. In mainstream media, nudity is often censored or portrayed selectively, reinforcing the idea that women's nipples are inherently inappropriate or provocative. Meanwhile, in pornography, women's nipples are frequently fetishized, contributing to unrealistic expectations about their appearance and role in sexual encounters. Psychological research suggests that prolonged exposure to such portrayals can distort perceptions of normality, leading to dissatisfaction with real-life experiences. This phenomenon, known as the pornification of society, has far-reaching implications for body image and relationships. 8. The psychological impact of nipple piercings. Nipple piercings are a form of self-expression that has gained popularity in recent years. For many women, this act is empowering, allowing them to reclaim control over their bodies and challenge societal norms. From a psychological perspective, body modifications like nipple piercings can enhance self-esteem and provide a sense of individuality. However, they can also provoke judgment or curiosity from others, reflecting the broader societal discomfort with women's nipples. 9. The evolutionary perspective. From an evolutionary standpoint, women's nipples may have developed their sensitivity and dual-purpose functions, nurturing and sexual, to strengthen pair bonding and reproductive success. The psychological appeal of nipples in intimate relationships could be linked to their role in fostering closeness and emotional connection. 10. Breaking the taboo. Understanding the psychology of women's nipples requires acknowledging the complex interplay